Welcome to the power of no, or just say no. But what we're going to talk about today is what no is and how important it is. We're in these times where we're just a little overwhelmed. Our plates are really full, even though we may not be out and about. So let's look at no. So this no is both the tool and the barrier by which we establish and maintain perimeters. It's about boundaries. No is boundaries. Boundaries for either things to do or people. So when we're looking at it, it's about what you value and what you are. That no is an amazing tool. So we're going to talk about no. First, to introduce myself. I'm Diane Frankel-Gramelis. I'm the student wellness counselor at the School of Public Health. And welcome to the power of no. So does this sound familiar? I'm so overwhelmed. I can't take it. There's so much to do. I need a break, but I can't take a break. I'm feeling overloaded. Or what about this? Are you feeling burnt out? Are you always trying to catch up and you just can't seem to catch up? Have you ever said to yourself, I wish I had more time. If I had more time, I could do more. I could have done better. I could be more. We all have 24 hours in a day. If we had 48 hours, we'd probably want more time as well. We tend to need more because we want to do more. But if we really stood back and we looked at how we can prioritize, it might be a little bit different. So what is no? And think about no, that word no kind of tends to go against our culture, right? Our culture of do it all, be it all, want it all, right? We're getting there. So let's look at this no timeline. I think this is pretty funny because what's one of the first words we learn? Besides mom and dad or mom and dad? No. That's one of the first words we learn because no is about our identity. No is about our boundaries. So what's the first thing we learn when people ask us to do something when we're just learning how to talk? No, 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 because no sets up who you are. It's about you. It's those boundaries. And as we go through time, it tends to be that for some reason, we tend to lose that no. First, we want it all, do it all, be it all. And that no gets left behind, right? Or we're told all the time, don't say no to me, don't say no to me. I think it's pretty interesting though, because as we come to the end, the other spectrum of our timeline, no is kind of easy to say. We tend to find those boundaries again, where for some reason in between, no is a little more challenging. And at both ends of the spectrum, we're either learning no and what our boundaries are, or we're relearning no and setting those priorities and finding it easier to do that. So have you ever wanted to say no and you said yes instead? I bet many times, right? How come? Think about the reasons. Well, the biggest reasons is we're kind of in this competitive culture. And again, to be the most, have the most. So a lot of times we're just feeling pressured to do more, pressured to be more, pressured to help more, right? Even with volunteering or doing more. We don't like to say no to people when they ask us to do things. Some other reasons, well, about acceptance. Maybe we just want to be accepted. The more you do, the more accepted you feel, the more approved you are. And just kind of affirmations for yourself. I am a do-it-all person. The challenge is sometimes you just can't do it all. Or when you do it all, you don't do it all well. I like how that saying goes, I'm the jack of all trades, but master of none. So that's the challenge when you're trying to do everything. How well are you doing everything? So no can be a wonderful thing there. So let's see, what are some other things? So we're talking today about saying no to doing things, right? Saying no, you don't want to take another class. I can't listen to another podcast. I can't do this. But there's also that no when people are asking you to do things, right? So some things you absolutely have to say yes to. We have to look at our priorities. Why is no so uncomfortable? And it is at times really uncomfortable. So No is uncomfortable. Why? Well, sometimes we think it's pretty rude. We're thought of that you're not supposed to say no. You're not supposed to say no to your elders or your boss or colleagues, right? We feel guilty if we say no. No has this serious negative connotation. The whole word has a negative connotation. Sometimes we're afraid of backlash. What if we say no to our boss? What if we say no to this person? What if we say no to our parents? And then, of course, we don't want to hurt anybody, right? Or even going back to backlash. What if there's a backlash? You didn't watch that? You didn't see that? You didn't volunteer there? Sometimes within relationships, we're afraid that it's going to end a relationship if we say no, if we have boundaries, if we stand up for ourselves. Biggest one with turning off that computer and just finding me time, doing some self-care instead of all yes care, is a fear of missing out. What if I miss out? What if I miss on going out with friends? What if I miss out on this lecture? What if I miss out on being the one that they choose for this? And then what else? I want you to think about, what are your reasons? What are your challenges to no? Why is no uncomfortable for you? I like this because, you can be a good person and you can have a kind heart and you can still say no. No is this really freeing word, place that can allow you to be where you need to be for yes, and possibly not be in the wrong place or do the wrong thing, right? So let's look at these consequences of yes. We're going to look at the physical one. High blood pressure, right? What happens when you're saying yes or you're overloaded? You have too much to do. You said yes to too many things. You have too many videos to watch. You have too many people to help. What happens? There goes that anxiety, that stress, maybe a panic attack. Well, in the process, it's raising your blood pressure. I can't sleep at night. I have too much on my plate. I have to worry about how I'm going to get it all done. It's interesting because the word try, and we say try a lot instead of no, because the word try gives you time. So if somebody says, oh, can you come help me move this weekend? And you're like, oh, you're thinking to yourself, I have so much I have to do. I know I really can't do it. And what do you say? I'll try. And then here comes the insomnia. Here comes the blood pressure. I really can't do this. How am I going to fit it? I said I would try. So a lot of times, instead of try, that word no is a much better word. We'll talk about how to do that. We got this. You got this. So high blood pressure, insomnia, resentment. You can't tell me there's times you say yes to something you wanted to say no to, and you don't feel like really upset to the person or thing that you said yes to when you didn't want to. You can get resentful, and it happens. It's a normal feeling. Maybe we should learn the no so that doesn't have to happen, right? And of course, stress. The world is just on this stress plane, very overworked, overthought, over everything, right? So I like to think about this. So every time you agree to something, that's where your time's going. So when you say yes to something, that's where your time's going. That's where your energy's going. But all these yeses have to take that energy or time from somewhere else. So you can't say yes to everything and still have some time for more yeses. Or let's look at where this time is going. So a really good way to start to take a step back and think about what you're saying yes to is to think about maybe what the yes is taking up. So that energy, that yes that you have is taking your time. It's taking energy. It has to go somewhere. It has to go into that yes. What might be some things that yes is taking away from? Might take away from sleep, self-care, sleep, very important. Might take away from time with friends, family. Might take away from meals, self-care, restoration, very important, and just your health in general. So that yes, that over yes, not all yeses. I'm not saying not to say yes. I'm saying when you have to say yes like this, yes, oh, I want to get this done. I want to fit it in. Think about what time and where it's absorbed and what it's taking away from. Is it taking away from your health, your sleep, your friends? Or another yes you wanted to do? Oh, oh, we put that on twice there for some reason. Oops. Okay, I'm not sure. There we go. All right. So why should you say no? Let's think about that. Let's think about that word no and maybe why we should say no. So same amount of time. So everyone, we all have the same amount of time and we all have the same option for the same amount of energy. But remember, we're all at different levels. So everybody comes and brings different things to the table, right? We just tend to have different styles, different functions. What we tend to do, and one of the big reasons why we say yes a lot, is because we also, not only are we this do all, want all, be all society, we compare constantly. And social media doesn't help with that. We're trying to, well, that person's doing it. I counsel people and talk to a lot of students. I also teach at Southern and talk to a lot of students. And I hear a lot that my friends don't seem to be having a challenging time. The other students in class don't seem to be having a challenging time. And the funny thing is, they're all saying that. So some people just tend to, for some reason, make things look easier. And you might as well make things look easier to other people. But constantly trying to compare yourself to people is really exhausting. And that takes your time and energy as well. So why no? Because yes, because it's about give and take. Yes and no is a give and take. It's a cost balance, right? It's an opportunity balance. It's a cost balance. It's all about balance. So why no? Because no allows boundaries. No recognizes that space for what matters. That's what boundaries do. Boundaries set up this space for you. I like to think of them as kind of like a force field, a protective force field. These boundaries, this word no, is so strong and can set up this space to open for more yeses. That yes might be sleep. That yes might be, I need to go and get a cup of coffee. That yes might be, I haven't eaten all day. I need to have something to eat. That yes might be, I don't want to watch this. I want to learn something else, right? So the bottom line, it's about priorities. So right now, what I'd like you to think is in your mind, or you can even write it down, but I want you to list your top 3 priorities. There are no right or wrong answers, and priorities change. So if I was going to list my top 3 priorities, my first priority would be my kids. Okay. My second priority would probably be time for myself at this point in my life. And my third priority is probably work. That's changed over the years, right? Think for a minute what your priorities are. What's your first priority? What's the most important thing to you? What's the next priority? And the one after that. So what happens is a lot of yeses go to places that aren't priorities. So if your first priority right now is school, and then you're really uncomfortable saying no to your friends when they ask you to do things, so you just say yes, you're taking away the yeses from the school priority. If your first priority is time for yourself and you are saying yes to other things and never having time for yourself, where are those yeses coming? So think about your priority. And our lives are full of opportunities and possibilities, full of them. Here's what no does. Why do we want no? No opens that up. When you say yes to something, it may close a door to something else. No may open that door. It may, I don't know what that door is for you, but our lives are so full of opportunities and possibilities that sometimes saying no to something will open up that possibility. So think about your priorities. Where are your yeses going? So here's something else. It's absolutely okay to delete something, right? So sometimes we don't want to take things off our plate because I should be able to handle it. Everybody else looks like they're doing okay. Again, that comparing thing. But giving it away sometimes, letting it go sometimes is so freeing, allowing that to just help you to move forward with whatever other yeses you want to do. So by deleting something sometimes, or by saying no, that helps to establish better work-life balance. It helps with any limited time and resources we have. It helps to space things out. And we tend to think we have to do it all now. So what I love about putting things on hold, and I use the word delete, but we could talk about putting them on hold. So when you put them on hold, we realize that I can do that later. So even though time is not infinite, depending on what you believe time is, but time is not infinite for us, right? So, but you have time. Or if we're trying to do it all right now and learn this right now, I'm interested in this right now, and I want to see all these friends. The challenge is that we're trying to do it all right now, and I do believe in being in the moment. We have time. Look at what you have to do and look at your timeline. Does this all have to be done today, tomorrow, this week? Or can I take these few things and maybe not delete them, but put them on hold? So what else no does is it helps you keep focused on your own goals. So many times when we're trying to compare, we're working on other people's goals. I love this little story. So there was this mother who was tired of cleaning up after her kids, her son in particular. And so what she said was, for everything I have to pick up, I'm going to charge you a certain amount of money. And at the end of the week, I'm going to write it all down. And at the end of the week, I'm going to hand you the bill. At the end of the week, she handed him a bill for, I don't know, $5, $10. The funny thing was he gave her the $5 back and he said to her with a note, "Keep up the good work, Mom." His goals were so different than her goals, right? So sometimes what happens is when we start saying yes to all these things, we tend to lose focus on our own goals. Okay? Think about it. Everybody needs help. Everybody needs help at work. Here's the thing about being able to keep focused on your own goals by saying no. Say at work or at school, everybody needs help. But by helping them, you can't really get your stuff done, right? So no allows you to have your own yeses. I think it's like riding on a plane, right? So I know this analogy is something we use all the time, but when that mask, that oxygen mask comes down, who do you put it on first? You. If you don't put it on first, you have no time or energy or anything for anyone else. If you take care of yourself first, your goals, your health, and sometimes we do have to kind of overprocess things. Sometimes, well, we can't keep up that pace. It's okay to say no. I like this. No to grow. By saying no, no gives you the strength to stay on course or change course for something that's going to work better for you. So say this, no to grow. No allows you to grow. It allows you to grow in other areas that you want to say yes to, and that might be your personal self-care as well. I love this Stephen Covey quote. The key is not to prioritize what's in your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. So going back to that priority list, what's important to me, right? And do I have to do it all, be it all? Right? Do I have to follow what everybody else is doing? Or can I go back and look at my priorities? And the key is not to prioritize what's in your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. So where do your yeses go? Where do your no's go? A lot of times, thinking about why we feel bad to say no, or, we're not as good as the next person because they seem to be doing it all. Eleanor Roosevelt was so ahead of her time. And one of her quotes that's awesome is, remember, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. So what happens is we do this to ourselves. We say yes because we do this to ourselves because whatever reason, you don't want to say no, right? And it might be that it's feeling not good enough, all that negative chatter. Don't we have that negative chatter that goes on? I love to use that hamster wheel analogy. We get on this hamster wheel, and what do? We just go around and around and around, and so much of it is that negative chatter. Another great quote, the way you treat yourself sets the standards for others. So if you're overwhelmed, you're over-yesed, your time and energy isn't going to where you really want it to be going, don't think that's not noticed, right? So if you don't treat yourself the way you want to, don't expect others to do it too. A lot of times when we have that negative self-talk, people pick up on that, right? I always like to say, there's enough people out there beating you up. You don't have to beat yourself up, but we tend to do that. So what happens is we say no, and then we get on that hamster wheel about, I shouldn't have said no, maybe I should have tried, maybe I should have done it, maybe I had more time, why am I wasting? We just get on this wheel where we just constant negative self-talk about why we shouldn't say no and why we should be able to say so many yeses. Take a step back. Think about, how do I treat myself better than that? And how? Believe you're enough. So many times we think, I'm just not enough, I'm not doing enough. And this goes right along with that. If you put a small value upon yourself, rest assured, no one else will raise your price. I always tell my students, raise your price. How do you raise your price? You raise your price by following your needs at times, watching your priorities. Of course, there are times you're going to say yes. We all do it. You're in school, you have to get something done. There are times you have to say yes. Somebody really, really needs you and you really want to take a nap, but they've been there for you. And you know what? You really want to be there for them. Even though maybe you want to take a nap, you're still following a yes that you say, you know what? I really need to be here for this person. I have to get this work done. Time management is another thing we can talk about, how to get some time solutions. But it's also about raising your price. What do you value? What yeses do you value? You don't have to value them all. You can look at your priorities and think about where the no's are going to fit in. This is a magnet on my refrigerator, and I see it every day, and I love this one. I may not be totally perfect, but parts of me are excellent. And it goes to show that it's okay to say no. Perfect to me doesn't exist. So it's okay not to feel perfect. It's okay if we went back to that first slide of the reasons why we don't want to say no. Feeling guilty, feeling not enough. And we're not totally perfect. But boy, oh boy, the yeses we put out there are really good yeses. There are parts of us that are just excellent. And the power is yours. It's about what you want to do. We have control. Sometimes I hear so many people saying, well, what's going to happen in 20 years? Where am I going to be in 20 years? I don't know, and neither do you. But that's a long way away, and that's a lot of time and energy spent there. You can't, it's the light at the end of the tunnel. You can't touch or see that yet. So if all your energy is going to where will I be in 20 years, that's a lot of energy. Let's kind of focus on what we want to do now, today, tomorrow, this week. Bring it down, smaller steps. I'm not saying not to have the big picture, but if all you're looking at is that big picture, it gets very overwhelming. The power is yours means you're in control. You're in control of your thoughts, your actions, your words. You're in control of where you put your time and energy. You are in control. I used to say to my kids, if it is to be, when they would get out of the car, going to school, I would say to them as they were getting out of the car, if it is to be, and they had to answer me, it's up to me. And I'm sure that there's days that they're probably thinking I need counseling because my mom did this to me. But it's so true. You can't control some situations or other people, but you can control what you do with them. So the power is yours. Where you put your yeses is up to you. Where you put your no's is up to you. But then what you do after you say no is up to you as well. Getting off that hamster wheel. Allowing yourself to say no and to know that this no opened up for another yes. And that yes might be I needed to eat. That yes might be I need to get a good night's sleep. Or that yes might be I want to do this other program instead. So how do we say no? Well, we have to be direct with ourselves and with others. No wishy-washy here. No is a complete sentence. I use that a lot. No is a complete sentence. It's not about being wishy-washy. It's about being direct. You want to say no to something. No is a complete sentence. We don't have to make excuses up, and we tend to do that anyway. No apologies necessary. No means no means no. I know that when we say no to other people, sometimes we're trying to figure out, how do I get this to work? What about I have to figure this out. And so I'm going to give you a way to do this. There's a couple of things. So I'm going to give you a kind of a homework assignment, if you'd like it. You can use this. Blame me. When people ask you to do something, or even in your mind, if there's something you want to say no to, here's your assignment. For the first 5 things that you want to say no to, your assignment is you just have to say no. It's so funny because you can go up when somebody says to you, oh, could you do this for me? This is what you can say. You know what? I just took this class, and one of my homework assignments is I have to say no to the first 5 people that asked me to do something, and I'm sorry you're the first one, so I'm going to have to say no. You can do that. Use me. You can say it to the next 10 people too. You're the first one, so. But also to yourself, right? It's okay to say no to this. There's no apologies necessary. My choice is no to this one. Honesty is the best policy. Why do you want to say no? It's okay to be direct. Another way that you can, instead of telling people I have a task to say no, you can also say, right now, I have such and such and such to do. I have to say no. I'm going to say no. If things change, I'll get back to you. But you've already said no. You don't have to do that. There are no excuses. You don't have to explain yourself at all. But so many times we feel we have to. And it's okay if you want to do that. All right? So what I was saying, no explanations are needed. But sometimes we feel like we have to. I strongly suggest no is a complete sentence and you don't have to explain yourself. We even try to explain ourselves to us. Well, if I don't do this, what's going to happen? And we go on again. We jump on that hamster wheel about why we want to say no. Maybe we shouldn't say no. It's okay to say no without explaining yourself. And that includes explaining yourself to you. So if you have to give a reason, don't over-explain. And I love this. I stopped explaining myself when I realized other people only understand from their level of perception. So people kind of mirror themselves, right? They come with what their needs are. So you can try to explain things to people, but they're only going to hear what they need to hear. So you don't have to over-explain. You know what? I can't meet today because I have yada yada. That's all. You don't have to go on and on. And even to yourself, how many times do we over-explain to ourselves? And then we can't sleep. And then we think about how we're going to do it. Look at your perception. Look at your priorities. So this is interesting about excuses. So an excuse only means you're not interested or you don't want to do it, or at least not right now. And here's the thing about excuses. It's okay. So I taught nutrition and weight management for a while. And I just remember that I had a private practice and people would say, well, and I'd say, well, you know what, why don't you try exercising in the morning? Oh, I can't exercise in the morning. And then I'd say, well, how about in the afternoon? Oh, in the afternoon I can't. And I came to realize that when people have excuses, they just don't want to do it. And that's okay. It's not up to me to say what's right or wrong, right? If you have an excuse like, oh, I really don't think I can watch this today because such and such, or I can't do this, or I have to say no to this. And if you have an excuse like, I don't really want to do this, well, maybe I'll just, if you're making excuses about something, then take a step back because you probably just don't want to do it. And that's okay. That's okay. Of course, some things have consequences, but it's still, there's a lot of excuses, then that's okay. So the bottom line is learn the art of saying no. You don't have to lie, and don't have to lie to others and yourself. Don't make excuses. No is a complete sentence. You don't have to over-explain yourself. All you have to do is simply say no. Simply say no. So here's the great thing about no. When you let go of yeses, different, better, sometimes things come into your life. No opens doors for yeses. Give yourself the permission to say no to anything that makes you unhappy and or drains your energy. And again, I understand you have a project that's due, that's different. That's actually part of probably that priority. You want to finish school. But do you have to finish it with 10 more things? I also like to say sometimes good is good enough, right? So sometimes we have to say no because good might be good enough. Not telling you not to do your best. That's not what I'm saying. But when we're so overwhelmed because we're trying to fit it all in and it's just not working, and everything we're trying to fit in isn't necessary, that's when we need to take a step back. I love this. John Wesley said this, and I just really think this is a great kind of a mantra to think about. So keep your words positive because your words become your actions. Keep your actions positive because your actions become your habits, which tends to be what happens. Keep your habits positive because they become your lifestyle, and your lifestyle positive because that becomes your destiny, right? So it's all about what's going to work for you. What yeses do you need? What no's can you put in the place? Sometimes a single powerful word can make your life so much happier, so much better. That single little tiny word can be no. Cup of kindness. Be kind to yourself. That no allows for some kindness too. That no, thanks. You absolutely needed that. That no is wonderful. So think to yourself right now, out of everything I talked about, what was the most important thing that you took for yourself? What resonated with you? Whatever resonated with you, I have a challenge for you. I want you to tell someone within 24 hours. I don't want all this information put under, it's like the treadmill under the bed, it doesn't work there. So if something resonated with you, I want you to not only tell someone within 24 hours, I want you to take action on it. I want you to do something about it. I want it to be a yes replacing something that you didn't want to. So you got this. I know you do. No is a complete sentence. Thank you so much for your time today. I certainly hope that this opened some doors for you and helped to take some stuff off your plate as well. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. My email is on the very first slide. If you have a question, a comment, I'm here. Have a wonderful day.